What if I told you that one of the most powerful tools for healing early wounds isn't something external and outside of you, but something within you, a resource you can cultivate and strengthen right now? That resource is self-compassion. And it's not just about being kind to yourself, it's about fundamentally shifting the way you relate to yourself, especially when those old wounds get triggered. Now, many of us carry a harsh inner critic, that relentless voice in our mind that constantly points to our flaws, our mistakes, and our shortcomings. The inner critic is like a running commentary of self-judgment, often echoing the negative messages we received in childhood. If we were criticized, shamed, or invalidated, those parental messages become embedded in our self-concept, replaying over and over again in our minds, often in the background. And here's the thing, that inner critic may be loud, but it's not only, or rather the only voice inside us. There's another part of us, a part that is often gets buried beneath all the criticism, and that's your inner child. The inner child holds our original innocence, our vulnerability, our sense of wonder and playfulness. But it also holds our unmet needs growing up, our unresolved pain and our unhealed wounds. When we talk about self-compassion, we're really talking about two things: diminishing the power of the inner critic and nurturing the inner child. These two processes are deeply intertwined, because when we silence the inner critic, we create space for the inner child to speak. And when we nurture the inner child, we naturally soften the harshness of the inner critic. So how do we do this? How do we cultivate self-compassion in a way that both quietens the inner critic and heals the inner child? Finally, let's address the inner critic. The goal here is not to, rather should I say, obliterate it, but it's to understand it and transform it. The inner critic often believes it's protecting us. It's that part of us that thinks, if I just criticize myself first, then I can avoid external criticism. If I just keep reminding myself of my flaws, then I can prevent future mistakes. But in reality, this self-criticism doesn't protect us. It wounds us further. Self-compassion invites us to respond to the inner critic, not with more judgment, but with curiosity and kindness. Imagine if that inner critic were a frightened child, desperately trying to keep you safe by pointing out every possible danger, every potential flaw. What if instead of fighting it, you acknowledged it? What if you said, I hear you, you're trying to keep me safe, but I don't need this right now, I'm okay. Now let's shift to our inner child. When the inner critic is loud, the inner child often feels silenced, ignored, or neglected. The inner child is that part of you that craves connection, warmth, and reassurance. And self-compassion is that bridge that brings you back to that tender, vulnerable part of yourself. To nurture your inner child, start by noticing when those wounds, those old wounds, surface, when you feel triggered, when you get anxious or overwhelmed. Ask yourself, what does my inner child need right now? Maybe it's reassurance, maybe it's validation, maybe it's permission to rest. Then offer that to yourself, consciously and intentionally. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a loved child. I'm here for you. You're safe now. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. It may feel awkward or even silly at first, but over time these words become a powerful balm for those old wounds. But there's another layer to self-compassion that's often overlooked, and that's common humanity. When we're caught in self-criticism or old childhood pain, it's easy to feel isolated, as if we're the only ones who struggle in this way. Self-compassion reminds us that suffering is part of the shared human experience. You're not alone in your pain. You're not alone in your struggles. Think of how many people out there also carry wounds from their past. How many people also struggle with self-criticism. In that moment of self-compassion, we tap into a deeper sense of connection, not just with ourselves, but with others. We remember that we're all navigating our own challenges, all learning to heal, all trying to grow. So diminishing the inner critic isn't just about silencing it, it's about transforming it. It's about responding to it with compassion rather than contempt. And nurturing the inner child isn't about denying our pain, it's about holding it with tenderness, letting that wounded part of ourselves feel seen and heard. Self-compassion is not a quick fix. It's a practice. It's a commitment to treating ourselves with kindness, even when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar. It's a way of rewriting our script, our internal narrative, from criticism to compassion, from rejection to acceptance. And in that space where the inner critic softens and the inner child is embraced, true healing begins. If this resonates with you, take a moment today to check in with yourself. Notice when your inner child, or your inner critic is loud, and ask, what does my inner child need right now? You might be surprised at what you hear. Remember, you are worthy of the same kindness and compassion that you so freely give to others. And that's where healing begins. And if you'd like help with exploring compassion and self-compassion, then get in touch. Visit my website and book a free discovery call, and let's see what's possible.